بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. The topic is death, and it's something that is bitter. It's something that Allah told us about in the Quran. The Prophet ﷺ spoke about it in the Sunnah. It's a part of life. Death is a part of life. As Allah told us in Surah Al-Mulk, that He created life and death in order to test us to see who is the best in their deeds. And as we all know, that death is around us, and it seems like there are more people dying than ever. It seems like it's more people dying, right? At a high rate, especially the youth. And even other than the youth, people dying from all kinds of diseases and sicknesses. That it seems it's at a high rate. And a benefit as a reminder about death is the washing of the body. Washing the body. How many people here ever washed the body? Anybody here? One person? Washed a dead body when a brother or sister dies. How many people? One? Two? Like, most people haven't washed bodies. Listen, my advice, and anybody who washed, you should go wash a body. Wash one of your brothers and see the reality of yourself. Because when you go wash your brother, or you go, the sisters go wash your sister, you see that's you on the table. That's you that can't make wudu for yourself, so that the people that are there to wash you make wudu for you. That's you that can't cover your aura. You can't cover your own private part, so the people there will make sure that your private part is covered the entire washing. That's you that can't make a ghusl. You can no longer make a ghusl for yourself. So the brothers who take their time out, they go in there, or the sisters, they go in there and they come in there and they make a ghusl for you. So you can no longer make wudu and clean between your toes and clean between your fingers for yourself. So the people that wash you, when they wash you, they make sure that they get between your toes and they get between your fingers when they clean you. You gotta go. It's a need. You need to see it. How about that? If you haven't seen it, you need to see that. It's an experience that, and this is my opinion, for the amount of adults in this room, not enough people have washed their body. Not enough. You haven't seen the reality that we're all looking at. Not just the one on the table, that we're all looking at. We just washed the brother's body, his son. Last, if I'm not mistaken, it was Wednesday night. His janazah was Thursday. We prayed over him on Thursday after Dhuhr. At the janazah, another brother comes at the janazah, his father died. So they washed his father this morning and then prayed janazah over his father. He was at the janazah. The son was at the janazah on Thursday, and then he had to wash his father this morning. Right? That we don't know. And Allah told us in the Quran, Kullu nafsin dhaikatul maut, that every soul, all of us, no person is excused, not the imams, not the shuyukh, the sheikhs. No one is excused. No one slides through the gaps when it comes to death. That every soul shall taste death. And as it says in the tafsir, that this ayat, هذه الآية الكريمة, هذه الآية الكريمة, فيها التزهيد في الدنيا. That the ayat, that every soul shall taste death, is an encouragement for people to refrain from giving too much importance to this life. It's an encouragement to refrain from giving too much importance to the dunya. That we have a specific amount of time here, only. And when Allah calls us back, that's it. So, it hurts, but it's part of life. It hurts, but it's part of life. If you haven't washed the body, and that's just one step. Washing the body is one step. Let alone, brothers, let alone the reality of the dead body in front of you. The reality of the brothers or the sisters that take on the task of actually repairing the body. Repairing the body. Everybody know what an autopsy is, right? Huh? Does anybody not know what they do with an autopsy? Huh? You don't know? All right, the autopsy, just to keep it simple, they want to find out the cause of death. How did the person die, right? So they test the heart, test the brain, they test all the organs, and they cut. They cut here, right? I'm talking about cut it open, here and down. It's almost like a Y. You with me? Open, open. You with me? Like, you can't bury a person in a white shroud with this open. Right? So what does that mean? It has to be closed up. That means what? Somebody has to come in there and do what?
Sew it.
Sew it. It's like you get your thobe hemmed, or you get a rip in your shirt or something that has to be sewn. The body has to be sewn, it has to be closed. Because if water gets in it when we're washing them, it's going to cause a mess. Of course, the one on the table can't do it. So that means another brother or sister has to come in there and do what? Sew. Sew the body up. You got to go see it. That's another step. That's not even the washing. That's the preparation for the washing. The preparation for the washing. And none of us are exempt from that process. None of us are exempt from that process. Tayyib, that ayat where Allah says every soul shall taste death, it says that the ayat encourages a tazheed, not being too engulfed in the dunya. Tayyib, Allah said another ayat, and there are ayat throughout the Quran letting us know that the reality for all of us, the rich, the poor, the ones in the middle, black, white, no matter what country you're from, knowledge, no knowledge, a little knowledge, that everybody at the end has to go through the same process. So Allah said another ayat, قُلْ يَتَوَفَّاكُمْ مَلَكُ الْمَوْتِ الَّذِي وُكِّلَ بِكُمْ. Say, يَتَوَفَّاكُمْ مَلَكُ الْمَوْتِ, that the angel that has been, the angel of death, that has been designated, the one that's been designated, the angel that Allah designated to come take the souls. Right? Do the angels disobey Allah? No. Do the angels ever disobey Allah?
Never.
Never. Not one time?
Not once.
Like, how do we know that? Huh? How do we know that the angels never disobey Allah? Allah says so. Allah told us in the Quran the angels don't disobey Allah. La ya'asuna Allah. Right? Allah said that they don't disobey Allah. And they do exactly what they're commanded to do. Tayyib. Allah said, say that the angel who has been designated to take your life, أي جعله الله وكيلا على قبض الأرواح, that there's a specific angel that Allah designates to come and take the soul. None of us are free from this. None. Tayyib. Allah said, ثُمَّ إِلَى رَبِّكُمْ تُرْجَعُونَ. And after that, you will be returned back to your Lord. After the death, you will be returned back to your Lord to be rewarded for your deeds. If the people were upright, then they will receive a reward, and if the people were disobedient and evil, then there's a punishment. This is the reality. There's a reward, there's Jannah, and there's a Nar. There's paradise and there's hellfire. So the fact that there's an angel designated to take the soul is another reality that we can't escape. Now Allah told us in another ayat, another reality of mankind. And what will mankind say at that point? Allah says, وَأَنْفِقُوا مِمَّا رَزَقْنَاكُمْ. And spend, this is the command from Allah, and spend from what we have given you from wealth. Right? And it says in the tafsir that is including that wealth that is obligatory. Things that will, some wealth is obligatory to give. Right? Like what? A zakat. And sadaqah is obligatory? No. Sadaqah is not obligatory. No. Outside of zakat, what is obligatory? I wish I could hear the sisters. What's obligatory, brother? Huh? Not what I mean. I want to hear the sisters' answers. Huh? Spending on your wives. Spending on your wives. Oh, yeah. I was like, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. And I look at the Zawjat. Spending on the wives, the obligation was obligatory. Spend from what we've given you. It also includes the recommended things. But Allah goes on after that and says, "Min qabli an ya'tiya ahadakum al-maut." Before death comes to you. Spend what we've given to you before death comes to you. Tayyib? Before death comes to you. Allah said, فَيَقُولُ. Because a person will say when death comes, a person will say, فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي لَوْلَا أَخَرْتَنِي إِلَىٰ أَجَلٍ قَرِيبٍ. A person will say, oh my Lord, if you just give me a little bit of time, don't take me now. If you just give me a little bit of time, and then he mentions two things. Allah said that a person will say two things that they'll do. If you send me back and let me go, don't take me now, I'll do two things. And it's important that we need to make sure we take advantage of these things now, because as it says, at this point, it's impossible to get it back. There's no way to get this time back. So Allah says that the person will say, if you give me time, أَخَرْتَنِي إِلَىٰ أَجْلٍ قَرِيبٍ. If you give me a little bit more time, فَأَصَّدَّقَ مِنْ مَالِي. I'll give my money now. Give me a little more time and I'll give it. فَأَصَّدَّقَ. If you don't take me now, if I can get just a little more time, I'll give now. I'll give it. Right? Min mali. And it says in the tafsir, I'll give from my wealth, ma bihi anju min al-adhab. I'll give with my wealth enough that I know will save me from the punishment. Enough that I know will save me from the punishment, I'll give it now. It says, secondly, the second thing a person will say, وَأَكُمْ مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ. And I'll be from the righteous. If you do what? If you give me a little more time, I didn't want to give before, but I'll give now. Whatever's going to save me from the punishment, I'll give it now. And if you give me a little more time, then I'll be from the righteous. I'll practice the deen like I know I was supposed to practice at this point. So it says, بِأَدَاء مَأْمُورَاتٍ. By what? Doing what I was commanded to do. At what point? Allah says, before death comes to one of you. Death comes and then the person will say, give me a little more time. I'll pay. I'll give the sadaqah. Give me a little more time, I'll do my wajib. I'll be a good Muslim. Right? I'll be a good Muslim. He says from those things are, it says here, يَدْخُلْ وَيَدْخُلْ فِي هَذَا الْحَجِّ. Hajj is part of that. Hajj takes what? It takes money. It takes money. A person might want to spend that. It takes money. That you have it, and you don't want to spend it on Hajj. Obligation. But if a person knew, if a person knew that they were not going to make it, if the doctor said you have 2 weeks, 1 month, 3 months to live, does a person have any problem at that point? And only Allah knows. But at that point, I'll do it. At that point, I'll do it. Because the doctor says, what? You're not going to, it doesn't look too good. We'll give you 3 months. We'll give you a month. And only Allah knows. Right? Only Allah knows. After that, Allah says, after the person says, oh Allah, give me a little more time. I'll give sadaqah. I'll spend my money. I'll be from the righteous, good Muslims. Allah said, وَلَنْ يُؤَخِّرُ اللَّهُ نَفْسًا إِذَا جَاءَ أَجْلُهَا. Allah said, and Allah will never delay a person's time when their time comes. All we have is the days that we have. That's it. Allah says, وَلَنْ يُؤَخِّرُ اللَّهُ. Allah will never delay. When the angel is sent, the angels follow. They do as ordered. And none of us are exempt. None of us are free from this. None of us get a pass for this. How long do we think we really want to live, honestly? Most people live to see 100. Most people don't live to see 100. Do most people live to see 90? No. Do most people live to see 85? 80? 70? Mumkin. But the Prophet ﷺ said, said that what? Yeah, between 60 and 70. The lifespan of my ummah is between 60 and 70. Some people might go above that, but not the majority. Not the majority. How much time do we really have? Not much. And Allah says that the time will never be delayed, even though a person promises now. Give me a little more time, I promise I'll be from the righteous. I'm going to be a good Muslim. Send me back, let me get a little more time, I'll give the sadaqah. I'll give that dollar. I'll put that dollar, $1 in the bucket on Jumu'ah. I won't walk past the bucket every Friday. Right? I'll do it. But at that point, there's no time. At that point, there's no time. Tayyib. I want to read some narrations to show how the Muslims, the early Muslims, would approach death and how they viewed death and how serious they were about death. And these are not people that we can say, right? And I'm not saying anybody would, but if a person wanted to say, well, that was, we're not them. They're not super. They're not superhuman beings. They're men. But the point of me reading these narrations is to look at the mentality. Look at the thought. How did they think? The thought process. How did they look at death? How did they prepare? Look at the advice. Pay attention to the advice that they gave one another. You with me? These are human beings. These are not, I don't know what you call it, but these are people. Not extraordinary. They're people. But their iman was on a level, and their belief was in Allah was on a level that their mentality shows in the advice that they gave and the type of questions that they asked. It says here, قالت صفية بنت عمر رضي الله عنها رضي الله عنهما إن المرأة اشتكت إلى عائشة رضي الله عنها قسوة القلب. That a woman came and she complained to Aisha radiallahu anha about her heart being hard. Number one, the benefit. She's complaining about her own heart being hard, which takes a person looking at their own mistakes, looking at their own shortcomings. I'm not worried about him and this one and that one. She came and she asked about the hardening of her heart. فقالت اكثري من ذكر الموت يرقل قلبك. She said, constantly think about death, it'll soften your heart. Constantly think about death, and it'll soften your heart. This is the advice she gave her. ففعلت. So the woman did it. She became more conscious and she thought about death more. So it says, فرق قلبها. So her heart became soft. فجاءت تشكر عائشة رضي الله عنها. So she came back to thank Aisha رضي الله عنها for that advice. Remember death, think about death, and it'll soften your heart. I'm going to say it again, brothers. If you have not been to wash a body, you need to go wash a body. If you don't get anything out of anything I'm saying tonight, wash a body. Wash one of your brothers. And know, as it says in another narration, when they asked the man, why are you crying? He said, because that's me. And that's you.
For the sisters too.
For the sisters too. Wash, go, see. See what what we have to look forward to, realistically. That we lie on the table, can't do anything for ourselves. People come in there that you might not know from a can of paint, and they see most of your body. Except for, of course, the outer is covered. They see most of your body. They see things that people may have never seen. They see it. People that may be total strangers. And you can do nothing about it. And they come there out of love for their brother or their sister. In order to give their brother or their sister their right. To wash them and prepare them to go back to Allah Jalla wa'ala. If you don't get anything from these narrations, if you think this is over your head, just go wash your body. There's another narration وقال الراشد بن سعد جاء الرجل إلى أبي درداء رضي الله عنه فقال أوصني. A man came to Abu Darda and he said, Abu Darda, advise me, give me some advice. Abu Darda said, اذكر الله في السراء والضراء. Remember Allah, not just in good times when you're up. Remember Allah in hard times and in good times. طيب. He says, وإذا ذكرت الموتى فاجعل نفسك كأحدهم. And if you remember the dead, those who have gone and died, consider yourself one of them. Consider yourself one of those people who are going to die. That's the reality. Listen to the advice. Imagine now, if you asked a brother for advice and he told you this, just our mentality in general. Maybe not you specific, but the mentality in general. Right? Remember death. Consider yourself one of the dead. Person may say what? Do most people accept that? Why are you talking like that? Huh? Why would you say something like that? Remember death. Consider yourself to be from one of the people that are dead. Huh? Why would you say something like that? This is the advice he gave. As we know, it softens the heart. It's a reminder. Then he said, وَإِذَا أَشْرَفْتَ نَفْسَكَ عَلَى شَيْءٍ فِي الدُّنْيَا فَانْظُرْ إِلَى مَا تَصِيرُ. He said, if you hold yourself, you take honor in something from the dunya, look at the reality. Which way are you going? Which path are you really going down in your life? This is not regular كيف الحال الحمد لله talk. This is not that. This is not كيف الحال الحمد لله. No. Consider yourself from one of the people that are dead. Right? It makes you sit, stop, think. What am I doing? Am I obedient? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing as a Muslim? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Based on the knowledge I have. Am I implementing everything that I know to the best of my ability? If we talk like this now, you know what type of response you get to a person. Consider yourself from those people. There's another narration. It says, وَخَرَجَ أَبُو دَرْدَاء رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُ إِلَى الْجَنَازَةِ. Abu Darda went out to a janazah. It says, وَأَتَى أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ الْمَيِّتِ يَبْكُونَ عَلَيْهِ. And when he went to the house of the deceased, he found them crying. They were crying, right? Some of the family, they were crying over the deceased. فَقَالَ, this is what Abu Darda said, مَسَاكِين. Masakeen. I don't know how to change it. Masakeen, like,
they know Miskeen.
Miskeen. Like, poor people. All right, look at these people. Like that. Look at these people crying like this. He felt sorry for him. Miskeen. That's what they say sometimes. Sometimes a person feels sorry for you. They say miskeen. Not literally the miskeen that we know, it's no money. But they might not understand. They might not have the knowledge or something. So he looked at me, he said, Masakeen, look at him, I feel sorry for him. طيب. He said, موتى غد ويبكون على ميت اليوم. He said, they're going to be dead tomorrow, and they're crying over somebody that died today. Abu Darda radiallahu anhu. That the reality is we don't have anything but now. We don't have next year. We don't have, I'm going to make Hajj next year. We have the money, we need to rush. I'm going to do this next year. I'm going to do this next year. If we have the ability, we need to do it ASAP because we don't have next year. He said, I feel sorry for them. They're crying over somebody that died today, but they're going to be dead tomorrow. It says, وروي عن سعيد بن جبير رضي الله عنه أنه قال لو فارق ذكر الموت قلبي لخشيت أن يفسد علي قلبي. He said, if my heart is distant from remembering death, if I'm not constantly remembering death, I fear that my heart will be corrupted from doing what? Not remembering death. I fear that if I stop thinking about death, that my heart will become corrupt. This is how they looked at it. Now you imagine now if people spoke like this now, we consider people what? Overboard. That's too much. You always talk, that's too negative. But they're using energy now. They say energy, whatever that means. That's not good energy if a person talks like this. The reminder of death, right? But look at the people who thought like this, and look how Allah raised them during their time. Look at the Muslims during their time. During the time when they were thinking like this, as Abu Mulaika said, he met 30 of the Sahaba. He met 30 of the companions, he said, and he said all 30 that he met feared what? Hypocrisy. Sahaba, that they feared being hypocrites. He met 30 of them, all 30 feared being hypocrites. There's another narration that it says, is عن مطرف لو علمت متى أجري لخشيت على ذهاب عقلي. He said, if I know when I was going to die, if I knew when I was going to die exactly, he said, I fear I would lose my mind. If I knew exactly when I was going to die, I fear that I would lose my mind. He says, وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ مَنَّ عَلَى عِبَادِهِ بِالْغَفْلَةِ عَنِ الْمَوْتِ. He said, but Allah blessed the people with the fact that we don't know when we're going to die. He said, this is a blessing that we don't know when we're going to die. If I did know exactly when I was going to die, I fear I might lose my mind, literally. He said, وَلَوْلَا غَفْلَةِ مَا تَهَنَّأُ بِعِيشٍ. He said, and if it wasn't for not knowing when we were going to die, if it wasn't for that, it would be difficult to live in happiness. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if you knew exactly the day you're going to die? And every day you wake up in the calendar and you know you're a day closer. Literally, you know exactly the date, the year, the time that you're going to die. And you know it. And you got to wake up every day. Every day you got to wake up and look at the calendar and say, I got 1 year and 49 days left. How would a person behave? طيب. It says, نظر أبو مطيع رحمه الله يوما إلى داره فعجبه حسنها. It says that a man, Abu Mutir, he looked at his house one day. He stood back and he looked at his house, and he was amazed at his house. MashaAllah. It's a nice house, right? He's amazed at his house. It says, فَبَكَى. So he started to cry. He started to cry. You think about a person now who has a nice house, nice, right? They look at the house and they start to cry. If a person did this today, how would people look at him? It says, Wallahi lawla al-maut lakuntu bika masruran. He said, as if he was talking to the house, if it wasn't for death, I would be happy about the house. I would be happy that I have you. If it wasn't for death, it would be something I'd be happy about, having a house. And the house did what? He looked at the house and it was a nice house. It wasn't like it was Arjabu. He says, وَلَوْلَا مَا نَصِيرُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ ذِكْرِ الْقُبُورِ لَقَرَّتْ بِالدُّنْيَا أَعْيُنُنَا. He said, if it wasn't for the fact that we had the tightness of the grave to look forward to, if it wasn't for the fact that the tightness of the grave is what I'm approaching, he said that the house would have been something that I would love to lay my eyes on. It would have been something that bring me happiness. But I know that what do I have to look forward to? The tightness of the grave. If it wasn't for the tightness of the grave, this was something that would bring me joy and happiness. It says, ثُمَّ بَكَى بُكَاءً شَدِيدًا. Then he started to cry heavily to the point ارتفع صوت, that his voice raised. He was crying so hard, knowing that everything in the dunya doesn't matter. That it's only a piece of the dunya. Only a piece of the dunya. And if we think about that, a house like that he says, if it wasn't for the tightness of the grave, this house will bring me joy and happiness. Think about the statement of the Prophet ﷺ, رَكَعَتِ الْفَجْرِ خَيْرٌ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا وَمَا فِيهَا. That the Masjid ﷺ said, two rak'ah before Fajr are better than the whole dunya and everything in it. 2 rak'ah before Fajr. Question, how long does it take to pray 2 rak'ah? Minute and a half, if you're rushing. 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Better than the dunya, everything in the dunya. The dunya and everything in it, 2 rak'ah. And what we do, if we leave those rak'ah off, then it's only our loss. It's only our loss. So he said, and there's many narrations, the chapters and chapters of statements like this, how they approach death. Or when they would hear certain ayat from the Quran, discussing Yawm al-Qiyamah, or discussing death. Some narrations say that some of the Salaf, they would faint, literally pass out. They hear an ayat from the Quran and pass out, faint, out of the reality of death. Ask Allah Jalla wa Ala to give us all a good ending. Ameen. And protect us from being people of disobedience, openly and secretly and private, to increase us in knowledge and increase us in actions, and to make us a people who remind each other of our reality, which is death. And I say it again, if you haven't, brothers or sisters, if you haven't, if you've never washed the body, if you've never washed one of your brothers or sisters, if you've never done it, I would advise you to do so ASAP, because that's all of our reality. The reality is you go in there and whatever's in that room stays in that room. That we don't come out of the room washing and discuss what we saw from our dead brother or sister. But the reality is none of us escaped that table. None of us. None of us escaped that table. And when you do it, you'll see the reality is that it's a dead body. So it's cold. It's cold. It's a dead body. It's cold. The body's not moving. That's all of us that we don't know. We could be washing that person, and then the same people that we're washing the body with are washing us. And that's just how it goes. That we have to ask Allah to make us some people who remind each other of the reality of sallallahu alaihi wasallam wa barak nabiyina Muhammad. Any questions? Fadl Sheikh.
Honorable Sheikh, wallahi, may Allah keep you going.
Ameen.
Good understanding of this religion, understanding of this subject. I'd like to go back to the point of autopsy. In 1973 or 4, that subject was a hot matter with us in the autopsy. But we crossed it, or we went over that hill where the Muslim were not to have to perform an autopsy in one or two cases. If it was a case where he had no medical history, that came up. Or if it was in the case of a murder, it came up. But other than that, the autopsy was not an issue with us. And we fought that because that was one of some things they said you had to have an autopsy, you'd be buried inside of a box and all that whole 9 yards. In 1974, 75, we passed that point. We stood on it and we got to the point where no autopsy was necessary and we could bury in the sunnah with the wrap the body and put in the niche. Halas, no box. So those things we did do. We need to talk more with the Shabab so we can get the information that for some things we've done, we don't have to go over the same things that we've already accomplished. That is a serious point, and if they do an autopsy, and you find that one brother we know that, we all know, some of you might know him, he had an autopsy, he was killed by a train. And they did an autopsy on him with a challenge again. But they are supposed to complete that surgery by stitching that body. If they allow any lay person to come in there and do that, that's another big issue. My brother, my blood brother, was a medical doctor here in the city for some 25 years. So he assisted in some of these problems that we did have and we overcame. So if anything like that happened, please feel free to contact me and I'll run it with you. And we ain't going for that again.
I don't know the procedure. I don't know the procedure right now, but what I do know is they're still doing them. I'm not really sure what transpired between then and now, but it's an issue that's on the table.
You're still doing that?
Yeah.
Autopsy?
Yeah.
I will do that.
I'm not sure why or why not.
Let's talk later.
Sure.
Good mic.
Inshallah, we're going to take a break and get ready for the prayer. Whoever has any question, there is some food out there, right? Outside. Inshallah. In the kitchen. And after the prayer, inshallah, it's going to be here. If you have any question, you ask and the prayer to go. Inshallah. What's up, brother? Thank you very much for coming. May Allah reward you. And may Allah allow us to benefit from what you have benefited us with.